Hi everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes to discuss your case study action research project in detail. So by now you should have contacted a student and family and been able to gain consent to work with the student. So we're going to continue and I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So first I want you to observe the template, which includes your name, a brief introduction, so introduce the project and why you think the project is important, anything else that you feel like I should know. And then give me a roadmap, which could be called a table of contents, but I would rather you do just a subheading and tell me what it is, subheading, tell me what it is, just tell me what I should be expecting for this assignment. And then you're going to give me a brief overview of the case study student. So if you're using a real student, please use pseudonyms. We keep all of this data confidential. And in the very few cases that you're using a video because you don't have a contact with the student, then you're going to use pseudonyms for that as well. Even though the videos are public, I want everything to stay confidential. So you're going to introduce the child and then give a description of the student and the student's learning environment. Then we're going to continue with interviews. Excuse me. So first you're going to do a teacher interview. And even if you're using a video of a student, you do need to find a teacher, an ESOL teacher to interview. It can be, I would prefer that it was a teacher in early childhood. However, it can be, in later primary grades. I just need you to interview an ESOL student based on and talk about all of the practices that they use. So first, I want you to talk about their background. Talk about their educational background. So the first question that is provided is, give me a description of your credential. However, I feel that it's easier to interview people when you give them an open-ended question, like just tell me a little bit about your educational background, and they'll probably get into how they got credentialed for ESOL. But if they don't, then be sure to ask, how did you acquire your credentialing for ESOL? Is it through university, professional development, or what have you? How did you get cleared to teach ESOL? Then also, I want you to move on and talk about and ask about what is the teacher's philosophy regarding teaching language minority students or teaching ESOL students, English speakers of other languages. And lastly, what are the views of the teacher on bilingualism and ESOL students? Okay, so that's going to be your first interview. Your second interview is going to be with a parent or a family member of the case study child, if you're able to work with a case study child. If not, I want you to find a parent of an ESOL student, maybe somebody else, maybe an older ESOL student, but I need you to find a parent to interview based on their experiences coming here and what their experiences are with their child in ESOL. So first ask, what is your background? So you don't need to ask directly about their socioeconomic status. You can estimate this. A lot of people don't want to talk about that. So please just make sure that the parent's comfortable and you're not just asking them, how much do you make? What's your what's your SES? Because that's not a comfortable question for most people to answer. You can just say middle class. You can say, somebody that is of the low income area. You don't need to ask them that. You can estimate. What's their schooling background? What are their literacy levels in their first language, home language, or also their second language, which would be English, most likely? What are the languages spoken? What are their reading habits? And you can find this out by observation or questioning. You don't need to have exact responses, but just kind of ask them about their background. Then have them talk about their arrival. What was their child's age on arrival to the U.S.? What were the changes in lifestyle, degrees to which members of the family are learning and desiring to learn English? What are the experiences with other English speakers? Any other cultural issues that they might want to talk about, or their story about how they came to the U.S. You'll find that many immigrants would like to talk about their story of coming to the U.S., so definitely let them discuss this. I want you to ask about the family member's proficiency level in English. In oral, reading, writing, you can just ask them the child's proficiency of literacy in English in oral, reading, and writing, and then the degree to which they both are enjoying their schooling. So that's the family member and also the child's, including their experiences with learning English, the degree to which they speak English, their home language, any other language, or their relationships at school or with native speakers. And then try to connect the data that you have garnered from your interview, your parent interview, with course readings and discussions. Say, this reminds me of something that I read, and then bring in the reading and kind of talk about it a little bit. Your last interview is going to be an interview with an adult English language learner. Okay, so you're going to interview an adult language learner. They could have mastered the language by now, but they were a learner, an English language learner before. So ask them about their experiences coming to the U.S., ask them about their reasons for leaving their home, which could be a tricky question. If they feel uncomfortable, tell them they don't need to answer that. We don't want to make our interviewees uncomfortable. How was their life upon arrival to the U.S.? Any kind of issues with adjustment or cultural mismatch? What is their approach to learning English? And how has life evolved since coming to the U.S.? You're going to take all of that data and you are going to connect it again to the course readings and discussions. Say that this reminded me of something that we read before and bring it in. And moving on, you are going to create an initial assessment of your ESOL child. It's not going to be so in-depth, but it is going to give you enough information that you can write about and you can analyze. So your initial assessment is going to contain writing and speaking. So for the writing, you're going to choose one of the following, and I give you several prompts of what you could do, and most of them are from the ADA and COMPOI activities for English language learners. So you can do something in the general perspective, something in the general content, write a story, fable, myth, recount or summarize a newspaper article, write about an event. You can focus on language arts, retell stories, write a report. I have a list that's in the directions. You can focus on social studies, which could be reports on oceans. It could be how to use a map, various areas like this that follow the social studies content. You can have them write about math or health or science. You find various prompts and ideas here. So just pick one. And then give the child somewhere between 1 and 30 minutes to write, depending on the anxiety level. If the child simply cannot write or has a lot of trouble, then go ahead and stop the exercise, marking down the amount of time spent, or you can provide some accommodations with them telling you what they want to write and you write it for them, but make sure that you're monitoring that they are not writing. Okay, so they're doing it, they're giving you the prompts and you're writing it for them, just so they can still participate, but their writing levels are fairly low. If a child gets 30 minutes, then make sure that you mark down that you've given them 30 minutes, and if they haven't finished, then you can stop the exercise. So you collect the child's work and you can scan it into your report, and then comment on the content of the message and its intelligibility, as well as the expressiveness of the child, the writing expressiveness. Then analyze the actual language of the child and comment linguistically on specific excerpts from the writing. You're going to pull it out and say morphology, this is an example of what I've learned. Make sure that you're demonstrating that you have internalized the content from the course thus far and that you're using it to reflect on your case study. Decide on the proficiency level of the child based on the criteria given in class and make sure to justify your decision. And then use one of the rubrics given to help analyze the child's writing. All right, moving on to speaking. I'm going to ask that you do a storytelling activity. So using a picture stimulus, ask the child to tell you a story of the picture in as much detail as possible, and then record the student with a digital recorder. If they have been cleared for video, you can record it via video, you can record it via audio, whatever is most appropriate based on the parents' consent. So hold on to the picture, as you're going to want to give the same stimulus at the end of the project for a few weeks. Comment on the content of the message and its intelligibility, as well as the expressiveness of the child, and then analyze the actual language of the child, again using examples from your content, from your course content, morphology and syntax, semantics. Make sure that you pull in those concepts of language so you're showing and demonstrating that you have understood it. And then you're going to use the following two charts. I give you two charts in the directions, and identify where you think the child lies on both of the following charts. Okay, then we're going to plan. So using the results of your pre-assessment and alluding to them in your report, so analyze the following plan regarding a one-on-one assistance with the child. So you are going to analyze 2 writing exercises in the Ada and Compoy, units 1 through 10. For one of these works, the child can present it to the class, and then you're going to observe their presentation and see how it went. And then observe the child completing one of a homework activity with their family. And for at least one of these exercises, the student must use their first language or code switching. They can bring in Spanish and use English, but you want to watch them in their first language as well. And after you analyze the plan, you're going to also look at the videos or the audio recording or the observational notes of the 4 visits, because you're going to go and visit the child 4 times, and you are going to do a video diary. You're going to either videotape the child in the class, at home, whichever setting you are cleared to observe the child, or you can audio tape. It depends on the parent's consent, or you can just take observational notes. But you need to answer the following questions in the 4 visits. So the first visit you would discuss what did the teacher and child do, or what did the parent and child do, whether discuss the digital recordings, bring in the scans of the writing, which of the Ada and Compoy assignments did the teacher or parent work on. Second visit, what did the teacher and child do, what did the parent and child do, bring in digital recordings or scans of writing, which of the Ada and Compoy assignments did the teacher work on? If the child shared the piece with fellow students or the family, how did that go? Did any of the course theories or conversations apply to today's work? And then the third visit is going to be along the same lines. And then you're also going to bring in a homework assignment if that is the visit that you're discussing or observing the homework assignment with the family. And the 4th visit is along the same lines. You're going to find the criteria for all of these in your instructions. Then for your final assessment, you're going to rewatch the videos, you're going to re-listen to the tapes or read your observational notes, and you're going to discuss the changes that you've seen in both writing and speaking. So the final assessment, write an account of what you have seen, the changes that you've seen, and based on the initial assessments, then we're going to end up comparing data. So for your final assessment, you're going to give the child another writing prompt. You can pick another writing prompt from the list that I've given you, and that is going to serve as, and you're also going to do a speaking. You're going to do the exact same assessment as before, so a retelling of a story and also a writing exercise. It doesn't need to be the same. It can be different. And you're going to just mark down and observe and record or take observational notes about any changes, because you are going to, in your final portion, compare your data from the beginning to the end. So for writing, you're going to discuss and compare initial and final assessments, refer to any events during your meetings or in the videos that you've watched that show some link or give you some kind of surprises. For speaking, you're going to discuss and compare the initial and final assessments, and then refer to any events in your 4 meetings that led to surprises for you. And you can bring in examples from your videos, from your audio recording, from your observations. And then lastly, you're going to write a reflection on what you did in respect to both what the teacher did well, what the teacher could have done to improve the assessment results. You can talk about how the families worked together with the homework, and be sure to note any kind of theories or any kind of course content that you feel would be appropriate to bring in, and any kind of final comments. So you're just going to kind of tie it all together in one conclusion. This is what I found, and this is why it's appropriate, and this is how I can make sense of it from my course content. So I know that this assignment is pretty in-depth, but trust me, working with families, working with children, and observing teachers, this is how you're going to grow as an educational professional. So kind of grin and bear it and get through it, and you will see that you're gonna, throughout your educational career, think back to this assignment and realize the worth of it, because this is how you learn in the fields. I can only teach you so much content, or you can only teach yourself so much content, and then you can actually apply it in the field, and that's where you solidify your understanding. So I'm looking forward to viewing your results and your reports, and please contact me with any questions or concerns.